marketing changes constantly. Threads came out. A day later, it's what's the thread strategy? Like on the client side, I'm like, I don't know. I just found out about this.
Marketing is meant to support sales. They work together in order to make money, and that is all any business cares about. Businesses need money, so you need to prioritize the things that are going to get those sales in quickly. Marketing is a lab, and you gotta test stuff, and sometimes the
Yeah.
test has proven that's not gonna work, but that's a learning lesson, and that's
Yeah.
okay. Hello and welcome to Tiny Marketing. I'm Sarah Noel Block and I teach small marketing departments that are tired of feeling overwhelmed and under-resourced how to build and manage an effective and efficient marketing strategy that works for them. You get expert marketing advice from someone who's been there, done that. Get ready, it's time to dig in. Why don't you tell us all about Aimtel first?
Yeah, of course. I'm Janet. I'm the CEO co-founder of Aimtel. We're a integrated marketing consulting agency, and we specialize in B2B technology companies and providing solutions and services to them. So my background is in marketing strategy, content, and digital marketing. I got a degree in communications and marketing, and luckily was able to make a full career out of it.
Beyond a career, you built an empire.
Oh, wow. Thank you. That sounds scary. No, I like that. Thank you. Yeah. So for Aimtel, we are 5 years into the business, which is just a really incredible inflection point of just like a lot of reflection and like maintenance, dreaming, building mode right now to what the next 5 years are gonna look like in terms of like just scale and sustainability. Yeah. It's been fun for sure. Definitely we might have to have a separate conversation or podcast of like truly the wins and woes of agency life. But
Oh my gosh, that would be an interesting one for sure. So for background for people who are listening, I stalked Janet so hard because I was fangirling over her marketing. She was
yeah, now
doing
I fangirl yours.
Thank you. Oh, I'm blushing now. She was doing just the most amazing work. So I just talked at her for ages until she noticed me. And then
It
I
worked.
forced
That
her.
was honestly like tip number one. Do what Sarah did.
Just be
Yeah,
persistent.
for sure.
You
I
will
think
be
that's
my
like
friend.
I think that's like a whole point of just the importance of marketing yourself and being visible and like you never really know when it's going to resonate with someone or like they're going to be like, "Oh, that's exactly what I was thinking or what I need or let's chat." And then the rest just becomes history.
Yeah, I honestly, I think I've made all of my online business friends similarly to that, where I was like, "Oh, they're doing good stuff. I want to chat with this person."
Yes, for sure. Yeah,
Then
I
we
feel like I find people now through you because like the like especially on LinkedIn, it like feeds you people like in your network you engage
Yeah.
with and then like commenting. So then I'm like, so you're paying it forward of building everyone's network.
Yeah, I don't even feel like a social person, but when it comes to that, because I rabbit hole real hard when it comes to marketing and, oh, I like what they're doing, so I end up being really social that way
Love it.
in my weird rabbit hole way.
Oh, yeah, rabbit holes are the best though, honestly.
Yeah. Today we're talking about agile marketing, which I'm pumped about. Let's talk about what really got you there. Like, honestly, it's so important to be able to look at what you're doing and say, this isn't freaking working.
Mhm.
Let's pivot. But what is your methodology with that? How do you decide the threshold on it's time to make a change and what do you do?
Good question. So I think at like its core just is like the question of what's working and what's not. And that sounds so simple, but I find that sometimes it just really is. To get to that level, you have to be very like honest and remove your ego from something that you created or a goal you had in mind, or even I think we're all consulting a lot on this. And thinking in terms of that first, so the way you explained it is like how we've thought about it. But over the years, we're starting with just like with marketing and just at the very high level, as we know, like it's constantly changing. 2 weeks ago, Threads came out. And
Yeah,
then
no,
like
it's tossed into everyone's strategy.
yeah, exactly. A day later, it's what's your threads like what's the thread strategy like on the client side? I'm like, I don't know. I just found out about this.
It just
But I think that
existed.
just Yeah, I think that's the nature in something that, of course, like I think as marketers, we want to plan and like you need to plan and forecast but planning that things are planning for the change is really how we think about it. And like that kind of more, if anything, it's like really like I think the most important is like the mindset. Of course, then it comes down to the operations and like how to do that. But in terms of the philosophical level, in like marketing changes constantly, like it's always evolving. And then it's not even just like in the industry and just then you layer in like your audiences and the customers and like what their goals are and interests. So I think just making sure it's like adaptable in those ways. So we have our processes of how we like approach the way we do marketing follows like step 1 research, step 2 strategy, 3 execution, 4 analyze, and then 5 optimize, and then like back to research, and then do we need to change the strategy and the plan and then execute. I find that like a lot of people and companies want to go right to step 3 into execution. And
Yeah,
then and
often,
then
if they could skip strategy, they will.
correct. And then also like want to kind of skip over potentially the reporting and like getting uncomfortable of like really looking at did this perform or not, or is this still aligned with the goals that we set like a month ago or things like that. What I also really like about agile marketing is that it gives like a common language and like methodology because everyone does marketing differently, and that's what's really exciting. But I think what I enjoy about it is it gives a bit of that standardization that I find is sometimes missing. So like you can literally go to agilemarketingmanifesto.org and they have 4 values and they also have like layering with the principles. And I can like read I like pulled it up, the values real quick. They're like 1, focusing on customer value and business outcomes over activity and outputs. 2, delivering value early and often over waiting for perfection. 3, learning through experiments and data over opinions and conventions. 4, cross-functional collaboration over silos and hierarchies. And then 5, responding to change over following a static plan. So it's like in a way they're not like so specific to marketing, but you follow that. We found it's like very successful in just being like giving that common language. We're an agency, so having that common language with our clients. And so they kind of understand like our approach and process, and they're not like, that's just like, I think the opinion thing is where I always like to hone in on. It's like everyone has an opinion, but it's like how are we like using the strategy and the data and your audience, really like the customer, like what's the customer value, and using that to guide forward instead of being so dependent on, they call it like the highest paid person in the room is like part of it, which is like lots of spiciness that I just live for, to be honest.
And you work with big enterprise tech companies, so
Right.
agile is very much a part of their vernacular. There's
Right.
the burn down charts there, you gotta
Mhm.
be agile. So it makes a lot of sense with your
Yeah,
target
and
market.
yeah, you're like they're used to already like working in sprints and
Mm,
like iterating quickly and having to pivot and just being like open to that. Or if they're not, like maybe other members of the organization are doing that. So it's like could even be something that they like have to adopt, but they don't really know how to. Or I would say we're not like super deep. I feel like a lot of it is just like the overall like how we look at it is like a lot of like approach and mindset and like the collaboration parts of it too, because I think sometimes if you're just like too technical in it, it can constrain things unnecessarily. So it's just a matter of just I don't know how to explain it exactly. I'm not explaining it very like
l
eloquently,
let's
but
let's look at it from the perspective of a time you had to do this. And maybe it would be easier if you used an example from your own agency if you don't wanna bring up, like, client work.
yeah.
But, like, when was a time that you were doing some sort of marketing activity for your agency where you were like, "Okay, I need to pivot," and turned out to be a success because
Um,
well, with testing and failing and doing something different.
I would say the first one that comes to mind actually is I would write a monthly email newsletter and put a lot of energy, time, and effort into
I
it. And it
subscribed.
I thank you. I know you did. I appreciate you. And I really like I think that's the thing is like I really enjoyed writing it, but it was just like a lot of like effort for not the results that we were like expecting, to be honest. So when I was like looking ahead to 2024, I was like, I just like, and that's the thing. It's like this thing that I was like, I just really, it's like my like diary. I felt like it was like always like my like
Yeah.
monthly therapy session, but it was like not really having the it's not achieving the results that I want of like growing like kind of a top of funnel audience that we can like nurture and build a community around. And I think a big part of it, what we came down to and I like realized is like I have a lot of excellent content on here that's like too gated. It's just like it's not like I need to share like more like out like more publicly and like, give a little bit more like to across channels and things like that and then bring people into something else. So that's where then we started to pivot and then this year invested in creating more video content for Tell. So we have a series of short form videos. It's called Marketing in a Minute. I actually came up with this idea like 2 years ago.
I like it.
Classic.
People love short.
Exactly. And it's like that micro content, micro learning, and a lot of like the content I actually and I know you talk about this a lot, and I feel like this is where we are like totally aligned, is like a lot of the newsletters that I wrote have a lot of excellent lessons and like learnings. And so instead of just trying and pushing forward and being like, it's going to work one day, I was like, no, we're going to take this and put it into a completely different like strategy and approach here.
Yeah.
And then so I took that content and turned it into the videos, like the short form videos that are like under a minute. And so we're running those on and we're actually I was like, I want to put them out on YouTube Shorts first. It's like made for that, but then across TikTok and Instagram Reels and see like where
Mhm.
it performs the best. YouTube Shorts is just fun fact, obviously. Like then that's the thing is like we're analyzing it, seeing what's performing, adapting like scripts and like formatting. But then now, like what I'm like envisioning as like a next step is okay, how to taking that content and like bringing it back into email. Of if you're really interested in this, then that's like obviously the hook, and then piquing the interest, and then bringing like people who are really interested in learning more into some sort of like email program is what I'm envisioning is like the next step. So it's like
That's
start an
exactly what I was
email,
thinking.
when coming back through, and then coming back to it.
Yeah, it would
So I
loop
think
back to it.
yeah, but I don't think that we would have gotten there or, like, really came to any of these conclusions. It sounds really, like, simple and, "Oh, it was, like, duh," but it wasn't. It was, like, every month reporting, analyzing, like, seeing trying to just different promotional tactics for the newsletter, like, different copy. We even ran ads. Like, I feel like I tried a lot of different things, and it was just, like, use the data to inform the decision forward, and that's what
Yeah.
we did.
Yeah. And then once you're done testing with the shorts, make that newsletter sign up the CTA at the end of it so they
Exactly.
can get
Yeah.
like the
Yeah,
full
exactly.
information. Cause I remember your newsletters were really detailed. It
Thank you.
was
Yeah.
like you could execute from the information that you gave,
Mhm,
but you wouldn't
mhm.
be able to fully execute with a 1 minute video. So that would be a great
Right.
way to pull people in.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I'm, like, thinking about it too, is just, like, it's I think that's also what's great about Agile is, like, it's really focused not always just on I think that's where I see our own like, ourselves or, like, our you can lose sight of, like, your customer and your audience of what they truly want and need, and that's why you do the reporting and optimization because they're gonna tell you.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna either resonate or not. There's
The
gonna be
data
engagement or
says.
not. There's gonna be conversion or not, and that is like your direct line to understanding, like, who your audience is and what they want and, like, what they, like, will continue to, like, engage with. So
Yeah. What is hard though is that at least with my own business, I'm often working with the founders, the presidents, the business unit leaders, and they are lurkers. So they are not going to engage, but they're reading it. I know
oh,
this
yeah.
because I can see who
Right.
views my stuff. It's a little bit harder to test that data when they don't engage with it, but they're reading it and then they reach out and you're like, "I had no idea you existed because you never said anything to me."
That's actually super interesting. I think that the same is, like, for us at Intel, the one like, yeah, those who, like, we're probably gonna work with as clients, like, almost 2 different audiences that you're making for those, like, they
Yeah.
actually really enjoy it, but they're not gonna, like they're not gonna engage as you were just describing, but they will be the one that will pretty much skip all the steps that you set up to wanting to work with you.
Every single time, every single the majority of my clients find me on LinkedIn, and my comment section is a ghost town, but they're reading it.
That's awesome, though. I like that a lot. Amazing. Congrats,
So I guess
honestly. Yeah.
a note
So I
to
guess
people who are listening that
mhm,
lurkers money is
right.
made in lurkers. It's okay.
I think the other so I feel like I feel like I do things, I don't know, I always am like, we do it the Intel way, which is, someone come at me in the comments, I don't care. But when I think of like agile marketing too, like I have this way that I'm like operated. Take what you like and leave the rest a bit. You don't have to do everything by the book, in my opinion. That's how you make something your own and like your own experience for your employees and your customers and yourself. But one other thing that like from the beginning I've always done was with the way we structured like our team, we did like with pod models, and that's from agile as well. So
Yeah.
the client's at the center, and then we obviously have like a traditional account management team. We have a strategist and a project manager. So the client has to just go to one person because they don't want to talk to everyone. They obviously know to go to the point person there. But everyone, like the client and the team, all has access to each other and they're not like behind closed doors. And I think that's how we like differentiate ourselves too, where like the client really feels like they can talk to the experts on the team, be consulted. And like we're having that like customer centric approach to like how we all work together and like especially on the relationship side.
Yeah, that is nice. Of
Because usually
time.
it's like traditional agencies, it's like this like game of telephone.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
you're
then
working I was actually just on a call with someone who was complaining about that same exact thing.
oh yeah.
Yeah, that there's just so much turnover in agencies that they're
Oh,
constantly
yeah.
working with someone else, and there's no
Oh,
connection
yeah,
in the
right.
turnover.
It's if you're, like, trying to find, like, a therapist and, like, you never fit, and, like, it's like, I don't know how many times I have to tell you about, like, my, like, past traumas, like,
Yeah,
I'm
I
done
don't
telling
wanna
the story.
cry in an intro call anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and I think that's obviously that just layers into a lot of other things, and that's, I think, what we try to do differently at Aimtel is, like, giving that like, building that relationship, and they're building that relationship, and obviously, sometimes things have to change. However, I think that also comes back to we take a look at who on the team has that skill set, but also, like, personality or, like, communication styles that could match a client too, like,
Oh,
instead of just
do
being
you?
like yeah, we talk about that sometimes internally. We're like, do you think like you would vibe with like this is
Hmm,
yeah, you try to like it's not like a perfect solution or like an equation, but I think it's like it's humans working with humans. So
yeah.
we can't like overlook that either. Like we're not robots and there needs to be this like good flow, especially like a lot of marketing is consulting. Like you're really like advising and getting to know these people and their businesses and their own careers and how do we always like question and we're like thinking like how do we help their business grow but also help them even I get really excited when like a client gets like a promotion. I'm like, hell yeah, like exactly, you deserve that. And like we were like along for the journey. Like it's really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're working with bigger companies where they have the opportunity for
Mhm.
that, so you get to
But they also have to like prove a lot. There's a
yeah.
lot that goes into it. Like it's not just based on tenure or something. It's they have like pretty big goals for sure.
So, going back to your marketing strategy, how do you prioritize what
Mm,
marketing matters first?
good question. I think to take it from the beginning, like when we do integrated marketing, I think that there can be like a misconception like, oh, we got to do all the things everywhere. And that's actually really not the case. And I
No,
think
that's
like that's
trouble.
just
That's trouble.
yeah,
That's
it's like
madness.
you're it's like also how when you're like you're not like your customer isn't everyone, right?
Yeah, I'm always talking about it's okay to repel people because you will
Oh, that's
hate
exactly what
working
you
with
wanna
people
do.
that
Yeah,
wouldn't like you.
for sure. I think it's obviously dependent, but as, like, a baseline for any company, it's like it comes down to your audience, like, it comes down to your customer. Where do they, like, live, work, socialize online? How are they consuming information? Where are they doing that? So approaching the strategy based on, like, their worldview is, like, how
Mhm.
we do it, and taking that empathetic approach of just, like, kind of what are the jobs that they need to do, what's outside of work because we're in, like, business to business, so it's a lot about, like, their work life, but it's, like, the they could have a kid behind them, like, trying to show them, like, their homework. I don't know. I'm not
Yeah,
a mom yet, but, like, I know
and it
the world is
happens.
mixed. Yeah. So, I think starting there is really important, and then from that, like, any kind of approach we think of, like, strategy and marketing in terms of, like, campaigns or programs. So, for example, one client, like, they wanted to expand their, like, top of funnel just like footprint and like in terms of SEO and just reaching like a larger, they're really technical. It's like a cybersecurity company, but they wanted to, they, in the SEO audit we did for them, we noticed that they actually have, it's pretty skewed. They had a
Mhm.
lot of like entry level keywords as well as like really highly technical. So they wanted to nurture that entry level, not even entry level, it was probably like mid level. For me, I'm like, I was like, whoa. But it wasn't really too, it was like things that it was like very like they're learning about this industry. A lot of people are trying to get into this industry. They could be, and they have these like training programs and certifications. So it was like laddering up to some other organizational goals that they were building out. So, like, from that was, like, the like, based on the research to, like, then inform the strategy into the execution was, like, okay, the what we recommended in order to achieve, like, that, like, SEO growth, like, create a video series, like an explainer video series, and
Mhm.
then turn that into blog content, and then, like, email, like, newsletter, and then social media content. So, I think when I'm thinking of like strategy, like an integrated approach, it doesn't have to be like doing a bunch of different things, a bunch of different channels and
Hell
tactics.
no.
It's like one, like focus on one to a couple things and do it across all of that, especially because like you want it to like people aren't only going to go to like certain channels. Like they're going to go, they all have different entry points. It's like that whole
Yeah.
flywheel model.
You have
Yeah.
to think about distribution or, like, different channels like distribution. You have that
Mhm,
core
mhm.
content, but then repurposing it on those other things as a distribution tactic.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's where sometimes with the strategy part of it is it's separate than the plan too, though. It's like really that's why I said like we start with like the audience, like the who,
Mm.
and then the why. Like why is this important? And then you go into the how and the what. But if you really don't know like why is this important to this person and like how is my like see, I'm going to the how. Like you always want to go to the how and the what, but it's like really get uncomfortable with the why and the who first is what I like try to push for and like how
Yeah.
we think of it. There's a really good video by Harvard Business Review, and I think it's called "A Strategy is Not a Plan" or like "A Plan is Not a Strategy." And that one, I like feel like I watch that like monthly because like even at the level where I am, like I still can you can get stuck and it's like that execution part. It's like that's step 3. Execution
Yeah.
is step 3. And
It
we all want to go there because it's comfortable because we can just start to see what we like want to create. But the value is actually like on like step 1, 2, 4, and 5.
Yeah, I was telling you before this call about my strategic story, how I start with the customer avatar, then messaging, then content, then the marketing plan,
Yep,
because that's the order it needs to go into. I don't care what
absolutely.
anyone says,
Oh,
it needs to
100%.
be that order.
Yeah. And I think that's, like, the hard thing is, like, it takes time and people wanna see that immediate return and everything like that, which I totally get it. I'm a business owner, like, I wanna see that
Yeah,
as well. But I think that that's, like, the kind of the difference of, like, direct sales versus marketing. It's like marketing is an investment and it compounds over time. You're putting in that work up front, and then you're using agile marketing to like, iterate, optimize, and change things,
yeah.
but you're not gonna be too far like, you're not gonna be too far off if you do the foundational work as you were just describing.
No,
I
you
haven't
need
been
that.
proved wrong otherwise yet.
No, 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 no. I am completely with you on that. You need to do that first, but the first thing that I always plan for in the action step is doing the stuff that will move sales quickly first.
True. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, for sure. And I think that's, like, how if you're listening to this and, like, you're an agency owner, you're thinking this for your own company, it's like to your point, it's like, what are those, like, quick hit things that you can just
Yeah.
do that's, like, showing that where you can work on the larger pieces of everything that's really gonna move the needle fully, but kinda like the quick hit things that, like, appease people, get them off your back so you know you can work on the stuff
Well,
that's gonna
yeah.
drive the
And
results.
you need money. Businesses need money. So you need to prioritize the things that are going to get those sales in quickly while you're working on the foundational pieces of
Mhm,
it. But you
mhm.
need to know your messaging strategy.
Yeah,
You need to know your customer before you start any of those
right.
sales things.
But to your point though, if you're like activating sales and along for the that's where like marketing sales alignment is like not an option, it's a necessity
Oh my God. Yes.
because they're also the one you can obviously get a lot of insight by analyzing, especially like on social if you have that level of engagement. on posts as an example, but like sales is like talking to potential customers. And if they
Yeah,
can give that feedback loop to then feedback into the strategy, messaging, and planning, it's even like you're even like several steps ahead there.
100%. My first conversation is always with the sales team. Love them. They have all
Mhm.
the insights.
Well,
Customer
I also feel like
support is
sales teams,
great
like
too.
everyone's yeah, oh, for sure, definitely, yes. I feel like they always are like, no one like wants to help us, like they're out on their own, and it's let's do this together.
Yeah. In
Mhm.
my opinion, marketing is meant to support sales. They work together in order to make money, and that is all any business cares about is
Yeah,
making money in the end.
exactly.
They need to be connected. I
Sure.
rant and rave about this all the time. If you can tell, I'm worked up.
Yes, exactly. It's yeah. I think I just did a like a high level video on marketing sales alignment just came out. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's interesting when it's not like clear or like you're not seeing that, but I don't know. We try to break that down for sure.
Yeah, I've internally, I see this a lot where sales and marketing aren't aligned because it's really easy to blame each other. If things aren't
Mhm.
going well, marketing can say, "You're not closing the sales," and sales can say, "You're giving me
Right.
crap leads."
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's
The
what
old
ends up
age
happening.
story.
Okay. Ooh, there are 2 questions that I want to go into. So you were talking about customer research. I want to know what you do for customer research because that is my favorite thing to do first too.
Yeah. I think like first for client, like we're obviously looking at like the what they have existing set up. So across like social media, if ideally like you're actually going like to your point, like talking to sales, going into if you can have access to the CRM or the data there, like what were like your most recent like users or like companies that you close, like what's their profile, who are they, like job title, blah, blah, blah. Then for if so I guess that kind of depends. That was like where I would start. What do you have
Who's your
ready?
best customer?
Yeah, exactly,
Identifying
like
that through the data.
right. Yeah, exactly. And, like, I think that sometimes a lot of time what we find is, like, they have customers, but they're not the customers that they want to be working with.
Yeah, I find that too.
So a lot of that actually, like, a lot of where we come in for companies and for clients is that they want to tap into new audiences and then, like, go after different customers. So we're kinda, like, building out, like, program strategies and the tactical side to do that and, like, researching what does that look like. We also do I think you can get a lot of, like, kind of the intent and interest of looking at SEO data, so, like, we use SEMrush. But the other tool that I've actually used where a recent one that I really like is called SparkToro.
Oh, I
Have you heard
like
of that
them.
one? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're by Ma the
So
people of Moz.
yeah, Rand Fishkin created it. So they I think that's I feel like my like the where we will
The
go
2
first
data
and like
sources.
looking yeah, but it's definitely starting with a client, like what they currently have. But then if they're like, what we have is not what we want, then you go into the other going to the other tools like SEMrush, SparkToro. And yeah, a couple like other things, but that's like kind of the core of it right now.
Yeah, I usually am working with clients that they have at least a couple of their ideal customers, so I'm able to interview them and get a good idea of who they are as I'm building it out. But the client I'm working with right now on their strategic story, they are working with a brand new audience. So I had to go a whole different route. And one of the things that I did this a long time ago when I was in-house, but I was like, I'm bringing this back. So I used a tool to analyze some of their ideal customers, their LinkedIn profiles, to give me a direction of who they are. It gave me their disc profile, and then I put that up
Oh,
against
cool.
their archetype, and that gave me some really good insight into who they are, what their motivations are.
Yeah,
And then I was able to have conversations with them just like I did with
that's
you. I
awesome.
stalked them
Yeah.
online.
I mean, I think
Conversation.
that's, like, a little bit of the part of it. It's like, you gotta be a little bit of a stalker,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
for sure. You gotta I think I don't think stalker, it's like, you gotta be curious, like, you gotta go like you're saying at the beginning, like, gotta go down those rabbit holes, gotta pull the threads, and I think, like, also seeing when, like, bias is at play, like, you think that's what they do on a day-to-day, but, like, if you can, like, even that's what's also, like, kinda level of if you can do, like, customer interviews and actually speak to customers, like, really friendly ones, and have
Yeah.
that honest conversation is excellent. Or even listening, like you said, like talk to customer support, or can you like listen to sales calls and like layering all that in? Like
Sales
there's
calls have
no
so much
shortage of
use.
data. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So
Yeah. Actually, now that you say that, for people who are listening that don't have people like us to do their stalking for them, that's the first thing I would do is
mhm,
listen to at least recordings of the sales calls because they're talking about their challenges already and they're talking
right.
about what triggered them to come to you in the first place. And that'll give you so much insight.
Exactly.
So, we were talking agile marketing. Do you set your benchmarks ahead of time so you have a threshold and you're like, nope, we got to pivot here?
Yeah, we do, but we don't do them like we do it like pretty much like max 6 months at a time. I think a 6 months is like good because you just like then do break it down to like quarterly chunks to how to achieve it. And then that also just gives us that opportunity and like to be upfront with the client. Like, okay, we know in 6 months, like we're gonna want to take a look at the strategy again. Are like the tactics related to that strategy actually like moving things in the way we want to? Obviously, when it's like really, usually we're like around a point where it's okay, we hit the goals, amazing. But then
Yeah.
it opens up the conversation. Like, okay, what do we do next, or maybe different?
How can
Or
we
the
make this
same. What do we
better if
do the
it's
same? Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, make it better. So we do set them in advance and then just see how we're trending towards that. But that also just allows to be like if we're not and we know we're like certain percentages behind or something, then that allows us like within the like weekly to monthly planning and execution to be able to make those changes as needed. And it's obviously easier said than done, but that's like
Especially
the
yeah.
ideal approach.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy for us to say. Now, if we were to think about this in terms of someone who has a small marketing department, how can they implement this idea of agile
Mhm.
marketing? What would be an easy way to get started on that?
I would say, I know, don't skip so many steps, but I think just like whatever you're doing, sit down and carve out time, like yourself or your team, to like really take a egoless like look at the data and like what's working, what's not, and try to like layer not just like the quantitative data, but even like qualitative, and use that to inform like what needs to pivot or change or stay the same as we were describing. Because that just kind of feeds back to the top of, okay, like we should do some more research and identify what we want to change in our strategy. And then in terms of the execution, I think just like really, I think we all just try to avoid looking at things. And so just,
Yeah, especially if it
and it's
might be
hard to find the
uncomfortable.
time. Yeah, exactly. I think just chilling in that discomfort. And like I said, if I was like, if I didn't remove my ego from my newsletter, I'd still be like pushing myself to write it every month without trying having it do like with the result that I was intending. But then,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So if a small marketing department is listening to this right now, maybe set a date that
Mm,
you're going to be looking at your analytics and deciding, hey, is this a go? Are we moving forward with it? Does it need to be optimized? Or is this a
mhm,
cut? And
right.
be okay with that. Be okay with the fact that marketing is like a lab. That's what I always say. Marketing is a lab and you got to test stuff. And sometimes the
Yeah.
test has proven that's not going to work, but that's a learning lesson and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Learning through experiments over opinions and conventions,
Yeah.
one of the values.
It's moving forward. And
Mhm.
if it didn't work, it's a movement forward.
Exactly.
Thank you for joining me on the show today.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, for having me. Always amazing talking to you.
Can you tell everyone how they can find you and work with you?
Yes, you can go to our website, amtal.com, AIMTAL.com, and you can connect with us there through our contact form. And then I would definitely say follow us on social. We're the most active there cross channel. So you can really learn a lot of these kind of insights. We like to share a lot of it forward. So I think kind of start there. And then, as I mentioned, if you're interested in working with us, you can reach out on our website as well.
Thank you for joining Tiny Marketing. I help tiny marketing departments create consistent content that builds trust with their audience. Book done for you content marketing at sarahnoelblock.com. Don't forget to follow the podcast on your favorite podcast app. And if you're watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn, make sure to hit the subscribe or follow button. See you next time, friends.